And welcome once again to another edition of Lock and Loaded on the world famous gun channels and broadcasting on the interwebs from the big island of Hawaii. It's like another hurricane and tropical storm invasion from outer space or whatever. It looks like we've got, it was a hurricane yesterday, but now it's Tropical Storm Olivia. It's either going to hit the Big Island or Maui. And because the ground is really saturated over here, it'll probably dump a ton of water and flood all the rivers that have already been flooded. And obviously on the East Coast, people, including some gun channels, people are dealing with the Hurricane Florence. Let's go over to that one. And it looks like Wednesday night, Thursday morning, they're going to get hit with the winds, tropical storm force winds at least. Whether it remains a hurricane when it hits, because the hurricanes are like, a Cat 5 would be 155 mile an hour sustained winds. I mean, like the gusts can be over 200. So that'll just blow shit down. So now I remember somebody was saying, I'm tired. All you ever talk about is prepping like 24 hours before the last hurricane hit the island. And so I made 3 videos about how to prep for hurricane. The only thing I would really add to it is if the power goes down, have like a camping stove so you can boil water. Because if you don't have enough water purification and there's no power, boiling water will be the way you purify it. And you don't just want to drink storm water from the street that hasn't been treated to get the viruses and microbes and what's the word I'm thinking of? Pathogens out of it. Because those are microscopic and you can't just strain it out. All right. But I think I've heard that Mouse Toes is not going to be evacuating. She's going to tough it out. And so good for her. Hopefully she'll keep making cooking videos. Maybe she'll make one during. Make us a cooking video during the show, during the hurricane. And that'll be one that I'll watch like 10 times. Let's see. I wanted to cover some stuff. Starting, I don't know if I should start with, I'll start with this UK knife. Where's my reading glasses? Let's see. Rampant violent crime in the UK. All right. I think the London mayor, Sadiq Khan, wants to ban cars or car rentals or something now, but let's see. Got some wonderful quotes. I don't know if I read this on a different show or not, but here's some 3 quotes from the UK. Quote, every kitchen contains lethal knives, which are potential murder weapons. Why do we need 8-inch or 10-inch kitchen knives with points? Retiring Luton Crown Court Judge Nick Madge. Well, how about chopping vegetables? I mean, okay. Slicing pies, carving meat. I mean, okay. Let's see. And there's another quote. No excuses. There is never a reason to carry a knife. Anyone who does will be caught and they will feel the full force of the law, unquote. London Mayor Sadiq Khan. He should go back to whatever Muslim country he came from because he's an idiot.
He needs to blow it out of his ass. I mean, that's stupid.
And he's the guy that wants to ban cars now because after I think somebody was run over with cars, or there's a terrorist. We had a terrorist attack with cars, and he wanted to ban cars. I mean, how can you ban cars in a major metropolitan city? It's just okay. Here's the next quote. Quote, we routinely have children under our care, 13, 14, 15-year-olds that are daily occurrences. Some of my military colleagues have described the practice here as similar to being at Helmand's province's former Camp Bastion, which is a very worrying comment to hear, unquote. Martin Griffin's trauma surgeon at Bart's Health NHS trust in London. Right, so they're being attacked with, the children are being attacked with knives. All right, so those statements, this is from America's First Freedom magazine. Those statements characterize the dire situation in the UK where gun control regimes, where gun control reigns supreme and violent criminal attacks are growing at an alarming rate. Guns are tightly restricted in the UK, including a near total ban on handguns. And for many criminals in London and beyond, knives have now become the tool of choice in committing their heinous crimes. According to a report in The Sun, at least 46 people were fatally stabbed in London alone during the first half of the year. Additionally, according to the Metropolitan Police Service, there have been 1,296 stabbings in London from the first of the year to the end of April. Clearly, draconian gun control regimes have not made London any safer. Government leaders have responded in the typical UK fashion. Rather than address the underlying causes of the criminal culture, they have instead called for a total ban, or at least the further restriction of knife possession. Right, that'll solve everything. The criminals will just turn over their knives. That's not, the criminals aren't going to turn over their knives. Maybe some law-abiding people who are gullible will, but I mean, the criminals didn't turn over their guns, and they're not going to turn over their knives either.
And they don't turn them over in prison either. You know, I mean, they
yeah, they make them out of toothbrushes.
Yeah, so
knife crime isn't the only type of violence that has recently ramped up. Despite the extremely restrictive gun control measures in effect, criminal use of firearms is booming. Meanwhile, the government has severely crippled the ability of law-abiding citizens to defend themselves against the violent offending criminals. The London Assembly's Police and Crime Committee noted in January, quote, in the 12 months to October 2017, there were 2,500 offenses involving guns, a 16% increase on the previous year, and a 44% increase on 2014. These statistics are a clear testament to the ineffectiveness of the UK's extreme gun control. Unfortunately, it seems that Britain's gun control laws have only disarmed the law-abiding, and more knife control laws are likely to have a similar effect. I mean, really, I'm not going to London unless I get to carry at least like a Wallace sword. You know? Can I bring my samurai sword with me? I mean, really. In the UK, as in the US, violent criminals are the problem, not the implements they use to apply their device. We at the NRA have known for a long time that restricting freedom will not reduce violent crime. But in the case of gun control advocates, the truth of our message has continually fallen on deaf, I will say deaf and dumb ears, okay? All right, so now that we've proven that London doesn't know what they're doing and they have an idiot for a mayor, I wanted to move on to something I talked with Squib about before on the pre-chat, and kind of respond to something that Ron Swanson said when he was on the show about 9/11, because I should tell everybody to keep their heads down tomorrow. It's the anniversary for 9/11, and terrorists like to do things that they can on that day commit violent terrorist acts. So that's something everybody should keep your heads up and your ass down, or however, you know what I'm saying.
Keep your head on a swivel.
Something like that. Thank you for trying to make sense of my babblings. So I think Ron Swanson said that he can't believe that the World Trade Centers that could be taken down by a plan hatched by a couple of Arabs somewhere in a cave in Pakistan. And my response to that, I know Squib has his response, and I'm to it, and he told me what it was, and I'd like to hear him say it. But before, I just want to say what my response is. That, well, how am I supposed to believe that some some outlaw wanted for murder hiding in the forest was able to defeat the British army at Stirling, the English army at Stirling. I mean, asymmetric warfare is nothing new. And if we go back to Syria, back in the days where Saladin was in charge of the Arab armies fighting, he had gone to a town in Syria that I don't know if it was Idlib, where the fuss is all about now, or another town. I forget the name of the town, but there was a cult of assassins, and they were charged with dealing with Saladin's army. So what happened one night, where Saladin was trying to negotiate to get this particular town from being stopped from, they were having a conflict with Saladin and his army. So one night, Saladin, or one morning, he woke up in his bed in his tent, and there was a dagger from one of the assassins on a table right by where he slept. And so Saladin packed up his army, left, and he stopped making political demands of this particular sect. I can't remember the name of the sect. But asymmetric warfare is nothing new. It's been going on for ages. So if you want to show me videos that on YouTube that somehow say, and this is the most common response from anyone in Europe, that somehow the Jews did it, or it was Mossad. I mean, that's just such predictable bullshit from anyone in Europe. I mean, asymmetrical warfare has been going on since before Christ. Would you consider it, would you think the Battle of Thermopylae was asymmetrical warfare? I'm not sure about that, but because that was just superior tactics. I mean, when the Persian army couldn't get through the pass, the hot gates at Thermopylae against King Leonidas and his Spartans. I don't know if that qualifies as asymmetrical warfare with I mean, like 300 guys holding off 1 million by filing them to a pass. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I'm not an expert on asymmetrical warfare. But it's just, yeah, I think what Squip said was tell that to the, I don't know if he can hear me right now, if he's still with us. I'm looking at my hurricane map right now, so I can't have all my screens up.
Yeah, I can hear you. I've been here the whole time.
Okay. Tell me what you told me in the pre-chat.
If somebody wants to say that some guy in a cave in a third world country couldn't take down the World Trade Center, I'd say to that person, I want you to go to all the families of all the victims, and I want you to look each one of them in the eye and say that to them. The thing is, what they did was they attacked us when and where we least expected it, and they used our own assets against us. The thing that was the most vulnerable for them in this attack plan is they sent 20 guys over here. There's 20 chances that somebody's going to get caught or somebody's going to change their mind. They had to make sure that these guys were zealots and that they were willing to die for Allah. And 19 of them got onto the plane. What, the 20th guy, didn't get there in time, or I don't know, he got a flat tire, or I don't think it's because he chickened out or changed his mind or decided to turn himself in. It was, he just didn't make the plane. But they sent these guys over here they had the money to send these guys over here, and they had these guys learn at our aviation schools, or one, they all went to one school together. They went to multiple schools. I can't remember, but they learned how to fly over here, and they got on board the planes, and they did what they did. They used our own, these terrorist organizations didn't have to get an aircraft, maintain an aircraft, get an aircraft over here. They just used the assets they had here. So they got their training and they got their weapons here. And nobody expected anything like this. The World Trade Center was designed to have a 707 crash into it. That's a narrow body airliner from the 50s. These were 767s. These are wide body airliners from the 70s. A lot more fuel. A whole lot more fuel. So I typically, when I hear somebody say that a guy on dialysis in a cave in Afghanistan couldn't have got this together. Don't forget his family is the richest family in Saudi Arabia. This guy is, he's got money. Was okay. He's got money or access to money. He's got connections. He's a hero to the Afghani people because he went over there to go fight with the Mujahideen against the Russians. So
he was a hero to the Taliban, maybe not to everybody.
Well, whatever, but I'm saying he's a hero over there, even though he's not even one of them. Okay, and for all we know, he didn't really fight. He just bought them their guns. Who the hell knows? But the whole thing is, it is entirely possible, and it did happen. Usually when I hear somebody say, though, that this couldn't have been done that way, the follow-up sentence, and I don't know if this guy had a follow-up like this because I didn't hear any of it, the follow-up sentence is some sort of conspiracy bullshit. And it's like, really? I mean, it's just like the conspiracy that we let Pearl Harbor happen. I don't think we let Pearl Harbor happen, but I don't think that we adequately prepared ourselves. I know that England they wanted us into the war. I think FDR wanted to get into the war. At the time, there was a real big movement to stay out of the war.
Well, I'm prepared to buy the story that people were just incompetent.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm willing to buy incompetent, and I'm willing to buy that, these guys that were training these Arabs who only wanted to learn how to fly, they didn't want to learn how to land. They were just like, oh, okay, whatever. I mean, just but the whole point is, and then after they tried to destroy the World Trade Center from underground, nobody really. I think they knew it was Bin Laden, and they were looking for him, but they weren't looking for him as good as they could, because not long after the planes hit, that they were briefing George Bush, and they told him, we think it's Osama bin Laden. I mean, it's like, damn, the same day, so it's just it's just, I don't want, if the guy was going the conspiracy route, fine, go the conspiracy route, say what you want to say, but it's a load of crap. Some of these conspiracies are entertaining. They make good fiction. They make good movies, good books. And on occasion, parts of conspiracies are found out to have some truth behind them, or, it's like based on a, but otherwise, though, I'm sorry, but for all the people for the people that say the World Trade Center never fell, that was done with mirrors, like David Copperfield. Really? Okay, well, I've been there. So I don't know what those holes in the ground are. So yeah, I don't get that.
Well, I like Ron's show that he used to have, and I liked listening to some of his crazy conspiracy theories because they're fun, tinfoil hat stuff. And I like Ron. I just disagree with him about a lot of stuff, but he's still my friend and I love him. But I did like 100 bushcraft shows with him. He's a funny guy, and maybe he's right, and the Prime Minister of the UK and the Queen are really reptilian invaders from outer space sent down to control us somehow. I mean, but anyway, leaving all that aside, I still watch his videos. He had a fun camping video on last week. Anyway, now that we've got our chance to beat up England, anybody want to beat up Canada? Well, actually, we didn't beat up England. We beat up Scotland. We beat up England, then we beat up Scotland, and now we get to beat up Canada somehow.
Well, you forget. I mean, in England, they're used to being subjects. They've been subjects forever. They're used to being told what to do. They're used to depending on their government more so than us. We broke away from that, and we don't have a history of being dependent on our government or wanting to be told what to do. However, our society is changing. Our society is changing, yes, where people more and more are dependent on their government and they want to be told what to do, and that is not American. And it's like, go somewhere else then, because you apparently don't want to be part of what makes this country great. We broke away from that garbage, and some people can say the way we went through the Revolutionary War and broke away from England was kind of a D-bag move because it was kind of not really on the legal side, but I don't really care. We made the greatest nation on the earth, and if we had
What do you mean it wasn't legal? What do you mean it wasn't legal?
Okay, so they taxed us They taxed the colonists to pay for the French and Indian War. The French and Indian War was where they sent the British Army over here, and they had colonists fight too, but to fight against the Canadians, the French Canadians that were attacking, and I mean it was a big mess. It cost England a lot of money to arm troops over here, send troops over here to arm the colonists and to fight this war against the French in Canada. So
right, and so they wanted to give America the bill for the war that they fought
to recoup the costs. They taxed us, and we go, oh hell no. Well, the thing is though, what do you know who invented the income tax? Abraham Lincoln, to pay for the Civil War. So we did it to ourselves again later. The whole point is
we're still doing it to ourselves. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's kind of like this. Us saying we don't want to pay this tax to pay for this war that, oh, by the way, kept us from being invaded by the French Canadians. It was kind of a dick move. However, in the end, we created the greatest country on the earth. And if America didn't exist, imagine how different the world would be today. There wouldn't be as much freedom across this planet today if we didn't do what we did. So people could say what we did was kind of a D-bag move. Well, maybe from a certain perspective, but look at the end result. Look at the end result.
I don't think it was a D-bag move at all. I mean, obviously, if America wanted to do something like it, and now one day you'd have to have a vote. It's like, do you want us? They don't do that like this, but in theory, you should have. It's like, do you want us to send an army to defeat all these French, Canadians, and Indians? And if you do, are you willing to pay a tax for it? And it's a vote yes or no. And then let the voters decide. But that isn't how government works. It's like there was a king. He made a decision, and because apparently the king is supposed to be some kind of superhuman, divine being, then the king never makes any mistakes or something like that. Which hasn't been my experience, but
when we broke away, we said, we ain't doing this no more. We're not putting up with your crap. We're not subjects. We're citizens. We're not relying on you to defend us or to feed us or anything. We'll take care of ourselves. That's America. England is still used to doing what they're told and depending on the government for everything. So the attitude of the people over there is just something that they've grown up with, that their parents grew up with, that their grandparents grew up with, and so on and so on and so on. And we haven't. The people that are here that are trying to change us into that need to go. Go or get with the program. Because, the whole Donald Trump, let's make America great again, what he's trying to say is, let's put the brakes on this crap and turn it around and get it back to where we were. Because if we're not around, the rest of the world is going to suffer. If we turn into the rest of the world, the whole place is just going to come. There's nobody you can rely on other than us. But America is not used to being subjugated. England, when they're over there going, we're going to ban your guns, they go, here's our guns. When they go, we're going to ban your knives, they go, here's our knives. And when they go, we're going to ban your cars, here's our cars. Over here, we're like, oh, hell no. Well, except for California. But it's like, oh, hell no. We're not turning in it. Well, even some people in California are saying hell no. But
hey, look, I'm open carrying a straw. That's another thing they want to ban in California.
So I mean, in England, there might be some people that don't like it or resistant to it, but overall, they're used to just bending over and going, "Yep, thank you, sir. May I have another?" Whereas here, that's not us. So the people that are here that say, "Oh no, we need to be like England, just bend over and take it." Dude, get the hell out of my country. Okay?
Well, but you're talking about almost half the country. I mean, that voted for Hillary. More than half. I mean, on the popular vote, more than half the people voted for Hillary Clinton. She just lost the electoral votes because she just messed up. She was the worst candidate, and she on the issues, and she fucked up on her choice of states, and she was going to visit it. Not to mention, she called the other half of America what deplorables and all that crap. But it was more than half the people voted for it. So, like, you got to reach the conclusion that at least half of the country believes that socialism would work. And in spite of the 100 million dead people that were either starved to death or executed by the socialists or the communists, and all over the planet. And it's not like
Well, yeah, I gotta understand. Almost half the country, okay, yeah, voted for the evil lizard woman witch or reptile witch.
yes, we have our
whatever
own
she is.
reptilians over here. We don't need your reptilians.
Yeah. I mean, okay, but you gotta understand, half those people voted for her, but the other half that is in that half, they never saw what life was like over in Russia. I mean, I'm only 37, and I was a kid, but I saw it on TV. I mean, I don't want to live like that. They never saw
neither
that.
did the Russians. Neither did the Russians.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't want to live like that, and they never saw it, so they have no idea. They're just completely clueless. I say you send them over there if they want to live like that. Let them try it for a year or two, and then they'll come crawling back. Oh, can you take us back? No.
I mean, just look at what's happening in Venezuela.
Well, but they don't care. That's not on the news every night, so they don't know. They probably couldn't even find Venezuela. I mean, it's not on their Twitter feed. It's not on their Facebook. It's they don't know how nasty the rest of the world is and how freaking wonderful we have it here.
Yeah, we have it. It's just a question of, I mean, like I think I said on last week's show or the week before, to paraphrase Bruce Lee, and I did see Enter the Dragon over the weekend. Keep your eye on the apocalypse. It's not going to be a crochet contest. When either the banks all go down. I was saying in the pre-chat this morning, there was somebody on, I think Bloomberg TV, some bank analyst or something who was saying, well, people should buy into the European banks because buy on the dip or something. And I was like, he's saying the stock prices are down, the very low price to earning ratio, and the bond yields are high. And it's like, the reason the prices are low for the stocks and the bond yields have higher interest rates is because the banks are completely insolvent. And you're on international cable news on a business channel telling people to buy insolvent banks. So keep your eye on the hurricanes, keep your eye on the insolvent banks, keep your eye on socialism, because it will not turn out well. And you can never take your eye off the bad news that's headed your way. I mean, and you won't even hear about a lot of the bad news until it's too late. So on that note, I'll say I'm expecting another 5 ounces of silver delivered today in the mail. The silver mint, I'm not the silver mint, the U.S. mint ran out of, they stopped selling silver eagles, apparently. There are still some online, and so I know that JP Morgan is out of their silver short that they inherited, their paper short that they inherited in the 2008 financial banking crisis when they bought Bear Stearns, and they inherited a very large short, millions of ounces. And right now, JP Morgan is long silver, over 1 billion ounces of physical silver, and they have no more paper shorts. There are still hedge funds shorting on the COMEX paper silver, but if JP Morgan is long 1 billion shares of silver, then that means every time silver goes up $1, they make $1 billion. So I'm gonna just assume that in the not too distant future, they're gonna try and manipulate all the prices back up to where then they're like at a record low. I would not invest in Italian banking stocks or bonds. I mean, I'd like to have something that I can physically hold on to, like precious metals. And I don't do investment advice on this show, but I'm just saying I got, let's see, I've got 3 Aussie kookaburra, 2018 kookaburras. I like the design of that particular coin. And the UK, I got the 2 ounce Queen's Beast, the Red Dragon artwork on that. They have a few different Queen's Beast coins there that they're pretty nice artwork. So I'm after the show. I'll go check out in the mailbox. It's supposed to be there, but there's a lot of like I was on Provident Metals the other day, and they had sent me out an email about 100-ounce bars that they wanted to sell at like almost just like 20 cents over spot or something. And I was like, okay, I'll go check it out. And by the time I got to the website, same day they sent out the email, they were all gone. And then I looked at a lot of the other coins, and they were out of all kinds of stuff. I mean, it was just, I said, trending, or you click on silver, and it was like, out of stock, notify me when it gets back in, or out of stock. And it's like, shit, everything's gone. So if the price gets any lower, manipulated down on the COMEX by hedge funds, then who just think they can build a paper short. I'm just assuming that eventually there will be a short squeeze. I don't know when, but I think it'll all happen at once when the banking when the banks finally give up the ghost, and I don't know when that's going to be. Let's see. So the U.S. Mint stopped selling Silver Eagles. I know they're like they hedge their silver, but if they don't have enough silver or they don't want to sell them or whatever, it's like there's something going on with supply of silver. And I know that Apple needs silver to make their designed in California, made in China iPhones, and that's like one of the most capitalized corporations on the planet, Apple Computers. They need silver. And so if they can't get silver, then that'll be a big problem. But anyway, all right. So let's do some gun talk stuff. So who thinks if the shit hits the fan, would you be okay with just a 9mm pistol, or have you got to have a bigger caliber? What do you think, guys?
9mm should be sufficient. I mean, the only thing that maybe is if you're, I don't know, maybe in a colder climate where you got to layer clothing. But 9mm will 9 and 40 and 45 will do. It's all going to do the same thing. I mean, it's going to.
Well, they have different terminal ballistics. I mean.
Yeah, but they're not too far off from each other.
I was watching the Weather Channel today, and they had some hurricane history stuff while they were covering. They basically were playing hurricanes, and there was this one. I don't know if it was Katrina or some other hurricane, but as this family is trying to get in their car to escape the hurricane, they're taking up the husband and wife, or the husband has like a ice chest with some ice and some a 6-pack in it, and he's taking it out to his car, and there's like 5 or 6 guys looking in the car to see if there's gas in it, and like they're up to no good, and he has a rifle. The homeowner, the husband has a rifle slung over his shoulder. And so all the guys who were looking at the car stopped, turned to him, and they're like, "Okay, give us the fucking keys. This is your car, isn't it?" And so he just drops the ice chest, grabs unslings his AK, racks it, and just starts running at them like a madman, and they all just ran away, which was like, that's the best thing I've ever seen on the Weather Channel.
Yeah, I know exactly which documentary you're talking about. It's Weather 360, and there's a Hurricane Katrina thing, and it was a great example of why American citizens should have the right to be armed. Here it is, natural disaster, and this guy is just trying to get out of there. And where's the government to protect him? He's got to rely on himself. And he had a force multiplier, and he used it. He didn't even have to kill. They were so scared of him.
Well, it's the AK.
And that's just it. That's the reason You have an AK in a situation like that. I'm not saying that they wouldn't have been scared of him if he had a pump action 12 gauge or if he had a 1911.
If you had a
But that
Tavor, they may
AK,
not have
that
known what it was. But when they see
yeah,
the AK, it's like such an
there's
iconic figure.
right, the psychology of it. And that's one of the reasons why some people have these air quotes scary rifles. If you were ever in a situation like that where you've got five guys versus you and you need that force multiplier, if your rifle or handgun has a reputation for being scary, even though he could have done the same thing with a 1022, that'll kill somebody, okay? It's just the fact that it had that reputation. He didn't even have to fire a shot. They ran scared. And sometimes you want that psychology there. So if the press and Hollywood want to make these things into these evil scary weapons, in some cases I don't care because in a situation like that it saved this guy's life. But when it comes to
I've
convincing
decided to
people to when
reassemble
it
my
comes to
AK.
convincing people that these things are that scary that we need to take them away, then I get upset with the news and the media.
Yeah, I mean, it's just great that all he had to do was run at them with his AK and look scary, and they just like fuck that. We're out of here. Nope, nobody even got hurt. They just gave it up and were like, we're out of here. No, we're not going to take on somebody with an AK who's running at us like a lunatic. I mean, uh, anyway, that was
What
the
he did
favorite
was
thing. Go ahead.
he turned it to his advantage. He turned the fact that this was one of the rifles with this scary reputation, and he used it to his advantage. And uh, in a situation where you've got to deal with looters, or you got to deal with social unrest, or you can't rely on the police or National Guard to protect you, or you're I mean, look at what was going on during the riots, right? In LA, they were on top of the roofs of their buildings
That
with
was overdone. I mean, I was in LA, but I just wasn't in the area where the looting occurred. I mean, most of LA, nothing happened that week. I mean, but if you were
but if you're
Reginald Denny
using
on the wrong street corner and you got pulled out of then yeah, you wind up as a vegetable in a hospital ward somewhere if you're on the wrong street corner. But
if you're using any firearm to defend your building because the cops and the fire department can't get down there to do anything about it because of the riot, it's
they
better
wouldn't.
than nothing.
They,
But
they,
but
they
if you
could have.
if
They were ordered not to.
well but if you're standing on top of it with with a bolt action rifle, you're going to get some probably more precision shots off, and you're going to go through pretty much anything. If you've got to shoot through something, you can. And you're up there with a semi-automatic intermediate cartridge rifle, it may not necessarily penetrate everything and it may not be as precision. But the simple fact that you can lay down a lot of fire because it's got detachable box magazines, you can use that. So you could use both platforms. It's just one might be a little bit scarier to the masses than the other. But the whole point is when the people want to say that we don't need these things, or when people want to say they're not in common use, or people want to say all they are weapons of war, killing machines, blah blah blah. There are times where having these types of firearms are more useful for defending yourself than other types of firearms. Or there are times where you can say, look, there have been legitimate times where these things have been used to protect lives, let alone the fact that people hunt with them, let alone the fact that people target shoot with them, let alone the fact they compete with them, train with them, things like that. There have been legitimate times where they've been used, and nobody wants to hear that. All they want to hear is scary, evil rifle.
Yeah, somebody shot up a school with an AK. I mean, people use ARs. I mean, for the kid, I don't know. I can't remember. Did anybody ever shoot up a school with an AK, or did they always use
Stockton in '86.
86? Okay.
Yeah, Stockton, California. And then there was a guy that took the AK to the White House a couple of years ago.
Well, If Putin ever visits the White House, he should bring an AK with him and donate it to Donald Trump or something. He might appreciate it. This will solve some of our problems, so we don't have to go. So we don't have to. Are we about to go to war again with Russia over? It's like in Syria again. Or they're going to bomb some of the ISIS and Al Qaeda people in Syria, and we're going to try and stop them from bombing the ISIS because it's basically. I don't know how you tell the difference between the people who just want to get rid of Assad and the ISIS and the Al Qaeda, because they're all just trying to get Assad out of there, and so it's like all the good guys are bad. If there are any good guys there, they're all bunched up with the bad guys, and they're all like, it's like I don't know what the hell. But I certainly don't want to start a shooting war with Russia. I can tell you that. But I have no idea.
I'm not worried about the Russians. I mean, they do have plenty of stuff, but yeah. But wait, are you implying that there's some ISIS or Al Qaeda guys left? I thought we got them all.
You'll never get them all. You'll never get them all.
Didn't they quit and just go back to the camel farm or something? Or
camel farm?
Yeah.
No. Well. Here's the thing about I'll pick a point with something you said like 3 weeks ago or something. If it was that, if I remember. I think about 80% of Arabs fucking hate the terrorists just as much, and just as much as we do, because they have to fucking live with them. That they aren't just terrorists in a foreign land; they're terrorists next door. And they're a pain. It's a pain in the ass to live next door to ISIS because you never know when a drone's going to accidentally blow up them and hit you too. And plus, they're assholes. You don't know when they're going to shoot you or just shoot anybody because that's how they are. And so, let's say 20% of all everybody in Arabia supports these terrorists. Well, what about the 80% that just hate them? But so I would say that it's really, you can't, as simple as it would be to go, okay, let's just go in the Middle East and kill everybody. Why? I mean, if 80% of the people would support you and 20% are the problem, then you just want to target the bad guys. But it's like in Vietnam when you couldn't tell who was the enemy.
But see, you're getting your numbers wrong. It's 100% side with the terrorists.
Bullshit.
I'm sorry. If there was this overwhelming number of people that didn't like the terrorists, they'd do something about them, and then they could
not in that culture. Not in that culture.
Well, then I guess what? You know what? It's like Bush said. You're either with us or you're with the terrorists. If they're like, we don't like them either. Okay, well then do something. Oh, we're not going to do something. Well, sorry about the drone strike, dude.
I'm not saying you shouldn't do any of that. I'm just saying you don't want to make 80% of the population. You don't want to make 100% of the population your enemy when all you have to do is target really only 20% or possibly even 10% of the population is your enemy. Okay, because it goes from a winnable conflict to a ridiculously unwinnable one. I mean, just the numbers are ridiculous. It's just an impossible military objective. If you do it, if you just want to target your enemy, you can win. But if you want to target everybody because you can't tell the good guys from the bad guys, so it takes boy, war is not simple. It's a very complicated mess. It's a fucking mess. Anyway, I don't think I did a very good job picking this apart.
What you do is you go to the rational 80% of the population and you go, look, just keep them in your country. Keep them away from us. Keep them from blowing up our ships when they pull into port for gas. Keep them from affecting our allies. Keep them from affecting commerce. And keep them the hell out of our country. And we'll go away. We'll leave you alone. We'll stop dropping bombs on you. That's all you got to do. We're not telling you got to lock them up, turn them in, execute them. We're not telling you you gotta do anything other than just keep them here and just keep them from affecting things that they shouldn't be messing with. That's all we're asking. And they go, oh, we can't do that. And we're like, oh, all right, well, call in the B-52s.
Well, hopefully when you call them B-52s, you'll be dropping the bombs on the bad guys and not just random people.
Yeah, well, if the good guys are mixed in with the bad guys, sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
If the bad guys know that there's a chance they could get found out, and they decide to use the good guys as a shield.
They'll use hospitals as a shield. I even have a political cartoon for that one.
Sometimes what you got to do is you got to go, all right, we can't do this because they're using them as a shield. And then other times you go, just sorry about that. That's what I say whenever I destroy a third world country village. Sorry about that. I mean, I understand that they might be more afraid of those guys that are over there, but they'll learn in time to be more afraid of us. All we want is just leave us the hell alone.
Nobody's learned that so far. Nobody's learned that so far.
We're not coming into that country and telling them they've got to be Christian. We're not telling them that they have to give women equal rights. We're not telling them that they need to have all these infidel things in their lives, like we've got, like cable TV and beer. We're not telling them any of that stuff. They're coming over here trying to tell us that we're infidels, and they're coming over here and attacking us, and they're attacking our ships in port, and they're attacking the people that our government and their government has agreed that our people can be over there doing training exercises or whatever it is. They're attacking interests all across the world, of us and our allies, to affect us financially or to terrorize our citizens, terrorize people that are just tourists. I mean, you can't turn your back on them. But if you want to go every time they go, well, we're just going to go ahead and set up our training camp next to this nursery. Oh, we can't attack them. Then they're going to set up every training camp next to a nursery. All right, you can't let them get away with that.
Here, can you guys see this political cartoon here? Gaza Hospital, Wards 3 and 4, minor operations, military operations. And they've got a rocket launcher.
You can try to be discriminating over your target selection. You can try to give warning. You can try to do this. You can try to do that. You can try to do the right thing. And then there's sometimes where, you know what, you go in there and you honestly don't know. You know that the bad guy's in there, and you get there and it's too late. And what do you know? There's a family of 4 in that same room that bad guy was in 2 hours earlier. I mean, it happens. It just does. But we're over there, and innocent people are getting killed because it's war, because we're fighting back. If they hadn't started it, we wouldn't be over there.
Yeah, well, rule number 1 about war is that people die, and rule number 2 is you can't change rule number 1.
Rule number 3 should be don't start a fight you can't win.
Well, that brings us back to asymmetrical warfare. What is a fight that you can't win? I mean, the fight it changes, what's victory. Technically, in Vietnam, the army on the field lost all the battles, but they won the war anyway. So, but then. It sure is interesting, but I am happy to be a civilian. I'll say that. I'm glad I'm a civilian. It's just, but trying to figure out this stuff for a civilian is challenging sometimes. All right.
So I was explaining to a 19-year-old kid last week. He was talking about how his stepdad was in Vietnam. His grandpa. His grandpa was in Vietnam, and he was talking about how tough his grandpa was and all this other stuff. But this kid had gone to a year of college, so he had a year of the socialist brainwashing thing. And he didn't seem to be one way or the other. He seemed to be kind of moderate, but he was giving me his take on Vietnam, and
it was a whole bunch of.
Yeah, and it was a whole bunch of, it just, I had to explain to him, I said, look, here's the deal. This was the Cold War. We were into conflicts all over the world, some small, some big. But you look at it like this. If we hadn't been in places like Korea and Vietnam, or the Dominican Republic, or later Grenada and stuff like that, if we hadn't been in those, then what kind of war would have happened? It's awful. It's terrible that tens of thousands of Americans died. It is. It's awful that tens of thousands of Americans were wounded for life, physically, mentally, or both. It is awful. But just think about the alternative.
Did you see the at the? I don't know if you watched any of the McCain funeral coverage, but they did have the Vietnam War Memorial for part of it, and I've never been there, and I thought it was very interesting to watch the that big black wall with all the names on it, and as they were describing the design, and it's like it like dips down, and part of it was a very interesting architectural. I mean, the way they did it. I mean, it has an impact even just watching it on TV. Vietnam.
Well, the people that died in not just, even if you look at the guys that were doing, were serving in America and abroad at military installations, on ships, you name it, that were just part of the deterrent during the Cold War, that got hurt or killed in training accidents, or hurt or killed just fixing something, or a plane flew into the side of a mountain that was, just returning to base after doing a mission. No combat or nothing, but if we weren't flying 24/7, and letting the world know, hey, we got planes in the air at all times, then we wouldn't have had the deterrent factor. All the things that happened, both in combat and in training, and just in maintaining our military for all those decades during the Cold War, prevented us from having World War III. And a nuclear war would have really messed up a bunch of people's Sundays. So the men who died in these places during this whole time, whether it was in combat or otherwise, didn't die in vain. They died as part of a bigger strategic operation that kept us out of a nuclear war. The other thing is, when you look at what happens in any war, whether it be Vietnam, World War II, Revolutionary War, whatever it is, when there's a big war, there are these technological gains. I was explaining to the kid, I said, our modern day emergency room came from Vietnam. Okay, in Vietnam, they got people in helicopters, got them back and got them patched up and saved their lives. And that's where the whole golden hour comes from. It comes from Vietnam. Modern emergency room success rates owe themselves to what we learned in that war and how our medical technology advanced. And just every war, there's technology that helps protect our people or maybe makes killing more efficient. But there's all kinds of side benefits from this technology. We wouldn't have computers today if it weren't for World War II, and I know that might sound to some liberal, it might sound barbaric or whatever it is. But you have to look at the fact that the people in our military, they have not sacrificed in vain, and that the whole world has benefited from a greater peace, even though you could say, this war, they were in this hot jungle and people were getting, booby traps and killed, and yet it's awful. It is awful. But having major cities nuked would be even more awful. And it's hard for somebody to understand that when they got a college professor pumping them full of how evil America is.
Yeah, I'll just say that with regard to college professors, they're definitely, I went to UCLA, the University of Conceited Little Aristocrats. I mean, it was like you'd go to class, you listen to National Public Radio, you listen to your left-wing professors, like in your sociology class, and so there's some classes that everybody has to take, and it's just, if you get up and try and argue with them, you'll flunk the class. I mean, basically, at UCLA, the classes were so big, you never really got to know that the professors would come in, give a speech, and if you might get into like a teacher's assistant study group or something, but you almost never got to talk to the professors anyway. So you just went to listen to their speeches and tried to keep up with the reading list. It was a lot of reading, but it was definitely, I mean, real life college does not prepare you for real life. I mean, you could learn a lot of great things. You could learn a lot of great things in college that will benefit you. English literature, apparently zoology is a good zoologist. If you have a degree in zoology, you can make a lot of money with that degree. Obviously, we had the North Campus versus South Campus at UCLA, where they had all the math whiz kids. It's like they'd walk around, like instead of like wearing like two guns, they'd have two calculators on each side of their hip, and they were, all they did was calculate. And so, whereas the North Campus, they were there on the South Campus, and the North campus on the North, they were all English lit, music majors, or art science kind of stuff, art appreciation. They didn't have basket weaving, but I mean, the sciences were like a different mindset of people that you really couldn't relate to the people in North Campus. Personally, I like the ski club, but anyway, it didn't prepare me at all for running a business. It was like nothing to do with it. But where are you going to read? Where are you going to learn English lit? You aren't going to learn English lit from anywhere else. So UCLA was a very tough, academically challenging place. But yeah, the professors were definitely left off their rockers. I mean, and they were full of themselves too. Like UCLA was, I don't know. It was the hard part for me was finding a parking space and walking to class every day. I mean, because try and find a parking space in Bel Air. I mean, there's like almost none. I mean, and I felt really. I had this old Mercury Monarch jalopy. I mean, it was a jalopy, and I'm parking on this like street with like a $10 million house. It was like the cheapest house, and there was like a 10-foot. There was about a 10, maybe 20-yard area where public could park. You'd have to get there at 6 a.m. through the traffic and get there before anybody else parked there, and then walk to class, and then I'd just stay there all day and study. Eventually, I think I just had my dad drop me off on the way to work, and I just study all day and take the bus home at night. And that was a whole other thing that was so long ago. And then I started working at National Gross at night, and so after school, I just worked at. They had it was Entertainment Data, and they got bought out by AC Nielsen. But basically, I would call excuse me, the movie studios all around the country and find out how much money they made. That used to be called National Gross. And there was like the one company that had the right to call up and track movies for the film companies and find out how much they made. So that was when I started getting home real late at night, because you have to call up. We study all day, get up at 6 a.m, study all day at UCLA, take a bus down the street to down Sunset. UCLA was on Sunset Boulevard almost, not quite, but and then down towards Hollywood, and then I forgot what the name of the building that company was in, but I think I'd get out of there around 10 p.m. or something, and then I'd somehow make it home and then do it all over. So anyway, that was when I was very, very young. Didn't do that kind of thing anymore. So here's a question. Do you think that hey Squib, you were in the Marine Corps? Do you think at your age you could make it through boot camp all over again? Because I'm pretty sure I couldn't make it through Marine Corps boot camp at 54 years old. Father time's undefeated. Do you think you could do it all over again if you had to?
Yeah, I think there's a greater chance I could get an injury. But yeah, I could do it. I just what they had a sports medicine clinic there, and they had a lot of people get hurt, and sometimes they'd recycle you, right? They would put you in MRP, medical rehabilitation platoon, and put you on light duty, and make sure you're eating healthy and getting physical therapy or whatever you needed, and get your injury all straightened out. If they thought it was something that could, like I said, they treat it like sports medicine, right? And then once you're out of MRP, they drop you back to wherever you were and you pick up where you left off. So I'd say there's a greater chance that I might end up in MRP, or they might just rotate me out with administrative discharge and say your injury is too great. But as long as I didn't get hurt, yeah, I'd finish all 13 weeks.
Well, from what I've seen, I would make it.
I think the biggest difference is I'd be wearing birth control glasses there. That's for sure. My eyesight's not as good as what it used to be, so they give me them damn ugly glasses. Ugh.
Oh, I had LASIK. Of course, if I had LASIK when I went down at the Marine Corps recruiting office, I would have been probably a helicopter pilot. But because I would have just lied to get the helicopter training. They sent me those letters, and I was like, yeah, I want to fly choppers, man. But you need to have good vision to qualify for that training, and I didn't. And they didn't even have LASIK at the time. So anyway, here I am, a civilian, and happily so. So what do you think, Squib, about, you think 9mm is good enough for a shit hit the fan scenario, or would you, for a pistol, or would you want something, would you want your 45 instead?
Well, that's just it for me. If you said, all right, you got a bug out and you're only taking one handgun, forget what long gun you're taking or whether or not you're taking two long guns, something like that. You can only take one handgun. It would have to be my 1911. But now, if I had a big bore revolver, I'd probably pick that over the 1911. I'd say for somebody who isn't any good with a gun, you're probably going to want the 9mm for the capacity. A lot of people try to make up for accuracy with rate of fire or capacity. And I'm kind of that slow is smooth, smooth is fast kind of crowd, so.
Well, I'm more of the, if I have to shoot for more than 10 feet away, I'll use a long gun. But so
that's good solid. That's actually good solid doctrine. That's one of the reasons why the Marine Corps would go back and forth with the handgun training for everybody. At some times, everybody going through boot camp got training on a 1911, and then they'd say, we could save money. And how often does the average guy ever use a sidearm? And then they'd take it away. Then they'd bring it back. Then they'd take it away. Then they'd bring it back. And the thing is, as long as you can handle that rifle, you're good to go in most situations. You're the hand, in the military, a sidearm is either for last ditch, your rifle's down, or you've got a bigger weapon. Like when I carried a machine gun, I carried a sidearm, right? Even though it says in the training manual you carry a rifle with your machine gun, nobody carries no damn rifle when you're carrying a machine gun. Or if you're in some sort of secondary role where you're probably not going to see combat, or you're in a vehicle where you can't fit the rifle, like air crew carrying a sidearm, right? Or if you're guarding prisoners, you might have a sidearm. MPs would have sidearms, things like that. But that doesn't mean that they wouldn't have access.
Did you have a sidearm when you were doing ordnance for aircraft?
Yeah, when I guarded the ordnance, I carried a sidearm instead of standing there guarding with my M16 or pulling my M60 out. I guarded it with a 9mm, but I also had it strapped to my hip when I was carrying my M60. So
Did they issue you a Beretta? They issued you a Beretta. You said you said.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so I get the whole thing why they'd want to save money by not training everybody with one, but uh, your whole thing about after 10 feet, I'm going to go to a rifle is kind of what they were telling us. They're like, look, you can hit with something at a rifle from me to you, or you can hit somebody 500 meters away with the rifle. You know, you're not going to hit somebody 500 meters away with a handgun. So here it is. Here's the rifle. So your doctrine is sound, Hawaii.
Well, that's good to know. And when you were talking the other week about people that just automatically go to a bolt action rifle with a scope, and I mean, when I started with a BB gun, and I would sit out in the backyard, and when I was growing up, and just shoot with iron sights all day long. And what was really funny is when I took the NRA pistol course, which you have to take to buy a handgun in Hawaii just to get the certificate. And they had the live fire, and I think he had a target at like 70 yards, or no, it was 50 yards. And he let everybody in the class shoot with a pistol, and I was no good with whatever pistol he gave me at 50 yards. You know, so when I actually I got my AK, he must have thought this guy doesn't know shit about guns. When I actually got my AK, he was at the range the first time I ever used it at the hunting area. Calling it range, it's the hunting area, and there was a gong out there at 100 yards, and he said, "Okay, go ahead and see if you can hit the gong out there. It's like at 100 yards," and it's like, okay. So I pulled out the AK, and it was just like my BB gun, except it has a bit more recoil and it's a lot louder. And you know, bang! He was like, "Oh my God, he hit it! And see if you could do that again." Ping, ping, ping. He thought because I couldn't shoot 50 yards with a handgun, which he could. He was very good with a handgun. That I couldn't. I didn't know how to shoot. It was like, no, you give me an AK with an iron sight, and I could, you know, hit steel all day long. Yeah. And not even try it. And it's funny because everybody else on the range came up to me and like wanted to shake my hand or something, like I was Bill Hickok or something. And no, I grew up shooting with iron sights.
Right, right.
And so, but when I did get my CZ with and it has the loophole scope on it, that helped me shoot better with everything because it just kind of got me to slow down, get my combat breathing, and work on my trigger pull. And when you do things slower, I mean, it just made me better with everything else because you just it's just you really focus on everything you're doing more clearly. I don't know if I can even explain it right, but I didn't like just jump into a bolt action with a loophole scope on it. That was like the last gun I got after I had shot with reflexes and I'm still not that great with the pistol. I'll be honest. It's like I said, for me, it's like if I have to shoot more than 10 yards, I'll get a long gun. I'm not going to do that with a pistol if I have a choice.
Everybody has their preferences, and if you want to start off shooting with an AR-15 with an optic on it and not learn iron sights, that's your prerogative. I don't think it's as helpful to you down the road for learning how to shoot more kinds of guns or learning how to shoot more accurately if you don't start with irons. But if that's your thing, hey, do it. If you started out with handguns and then you get a long gun and you can hit the broadside of a barn with a long gun, but you're great with a handgun, or vice versa, you start off with a long gun and you're not so good with it. That's just the way you started out. And once again, that's your prerogative. Some people don't see need for anything other than a shotgun. And if that's your thing, that's your prerogative. I think
it's real interesting. The guy that runs Kona Guns says he can like nail tacks in his target at 150 yards with his Glock 17. I can't do that. He says he can. I've never seen him shooting, but I don't doubt him.
I've seen somebody do a 600-yard shot with a snub-nose revolver before. It's possible. It's just not something you're gonna do on a regular basis or do unless you're one of these trick shot guys. You know.
Yeah, I'm just a regular guy. I mean, I'm just a regular person. There's nothing, and if I can do it, if I can, you know, become become competent with firearms, then I think pretty much anybody who sets their mind to it can.
When I say that jumping into shooting with little to no background in shooting with optic, I don't think it's a good idea. I'm talking about if you want to shoot more than just that gun. Now, just because I say it doesn't mean that you might not pick up on something else just fine. You might be a natural. But there are people out there who, put their fist down on the desk and go, if you're not doing it my way, you're doing it the wrong way. And to those people, I say, go fuck yourself. Because we all come from different backgrounds and we all shoot maybe different things for different reasons. And we all learn at different rates or in different ways. And you could suggest something to me that might help me, or I could suggest something to you that might help you. But at the end of the day, the way you hold the gun or what kind of gun you shoot, or whatever reason it is that you carry it or whatever, is not going to be the same as me, but we get to the same conclusion. I've had people tell me that the way I grip a handgun is wrong. Really? Okay, I seem to do just fine with it. So whatever.
Right.
Or
well, there's some universal safety, concepts that apply universally, but
well, yeah, and there is some, like don't put your hand in front of the frickin' muzzle, but or don't get a finger between the cylinder gap, right?
Yeah,
that's
some revolver stuff.
But I mean, there are some people though that it's like, well, I paid all this money and went to this instructor and he showed me this way and he said this is the only way. So if you're not doing it this way, you're wrong. It's like you just wasted your money, dumbass. So it's just, I think that we can all go out to the range and we can all shoot different kinds of guns different ways. As long as we're exercising safety, who cares? But now I don't mind if somebody wants to give me a pointer, it might come in handy. And if somebody's struggling and they say, hey, do you think there's anything different I can do? I'll say, or if somebody's new and they say, they want some advice, I'll give them some advice. But if they don't take it, I don't care. I don't care.
Hey, Patrick, you need to talk once in a while. You're still there. Oh, okay.
What? I'm here.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything to add to this line of the stream of consciousness, stream of gun consciousness that we're having?
I'm all for it.
Okay, so here's a tip from Tommy Lee Jones, I think. Right.
These Glocks are pretty cool things. They'll even shoot underwater.
Yeah, I like my Glock. I like my 1911. I like my GP 100 revolver.
Yeah.
But I don't have three hands, so and three arms. So, and I need a shoulder to carry a rifle. So, I was wondering if on that Weather 360 thing, if he would have pulled out a Tavor instead of an AK, if they would have ran away or not. Because they might just be like, what the fuck is that?
What the fuck is that? And it's and there you go. The only bullpup ever shot was a FAMAS, and I thought it was okay. So, but that doesn't mean that I'm some sort of bullpup expert. I couldn't make a judgment on the Tavor until I shot one. What if I shot it and thought, hey, this thing's pretty handy. Whereas you've shot it, so I think you can make a better judgment on that sort of thing. And some people pass judgment on guns or calibers with no experience just because it's what they heard on the internet.
Well, with regard to my AK, I feel like I feel like I need to finish it. It's been like laying in pieces in my living room for like months. I need to put it back together, but I love it. It always, I feel really confident that it's always going to go bang. And with the Tavor, I feel like it's a different kind of a feeling. I feel like if everything's working right, you don't want to be on the wrong end of the Tavor. I hit everything I aim at with it. So, I mean, with that reflex sight on there, it's like, I feel pretty safe when I got that thing slinged. So it's a different kind of safe. It's more like a this is a 5.56 and rifle, man. I mean, sometimes the AK feels more like a cannon when it goes off, because I don't know if it's the bullet, I don't know if it's just the size of the round or whatever, but it's got a lot more. It's got a different kind of feel when you shoot an AK than a 5.56. Wouldn't you say? I mean, have you shot like AKs? Either of you?
Oh yeah, I've shot AKs.
I mean, it feels a lot different than like shooting a 5.56 rifle, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. Here's your 5.56. It has no recoil. It's my 18-inch. And then here's what I think is better than an AK.
Your door.
The AR-47.
The AR-47. Oh,
Shoots the same ammo, and it works.
well, it's got a different. It works different than an AK, though.
Yeah,
Right.
well, no, it works different than an AR. That's not direct impingement, is it?
Yeah, it is. I'll show you the only difference.
Is it?
Yep. 28 round magazine.
Well, I have like 40 round magazines for my AKs.
Yeah, but these will fit in the mag pouch.
I've got a mag pouch for 40 round that'll fit. I don't have any problems with that. I have a whole chest rig for my AK.
But aren't you special?
Well, you know, if you're gonna get into guns, you kind of start getting into all the fun stuff too. You know, it's like, okay, I bought an AK. Now I have to get the chest rig, and now I have to get like a Russian Afghanistan, you know, field hat with the star. Go get it, and it's the only mil-surp Russian thing I really have, it's just, that's the fun part of owning playing with firearms. It's that you get to do all the accessories and stuff, and yeah, that's the fun part of it. You know, and I especially can spend hours just like looking through mil-surp stuff. You know, I could just waste hours online looking through mil-surp on like Sportsman's Guide or Cope's Distributing, or just especially, I mean, AK stuff. I think a lot of the guys on gun channels like mil-surp AK stuff, and there's so much stuff from the Eastern Bloc.
I've got nothing against AKs, and I just prefer my American version. Freedom.
It just feels like it's like you're firing a cannon more than with a 5.56 weapon.
With this muzzle brake I have, I mean, it's nothing. But yeah, there is a little more. It's not much.
Yeah, but that's also like a little bit of a rush firing. It's like firing a cannon is more fun than firing a 5.56 sometimes. You know, it's like when you accident.
Yeah, I prefer bigger calibers, but I will say this: for a small caliber 5.56, it does the job.
Yeah, I was just talking about how the vicarious thrill and having the extra recoil. But
the round this sucker shoots, my hand loads, is devastating. I shot a 9.5 pound ham with this at 100 yards, and the entry hole was just real tiny. The exit hole was big enough you could put your fist all inside the ham.
Using a hollow point or soft point?
I was using the Hornaday ELD match with the ballistic tip.
Okay, all right.
Let's see if I actually, hold on.
So that's a polymer tip rifle round then?
Yeah, actually, I got some right here.
All right, yeah, let's see one of those. I've got this Tula soft points. because we're supposed to use soft points for the hunting rifle.
Thought you used that fusion ammo.
I do have that also. I don't use the fusion in the AK. I use it in my CZ. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's like the VMAX. That looks like is that 5.56 or 7.62?
223.
223. Okay. What is that? But you have a 7.62 by 39 version of that?
I have a 7.62 by 39 AR. Yeah.
No, I mean ammo.
Oh, I can make it. Yeah, I've got
All right.
Did you crimp
brass.
that?
Do what?
Did you crimp that? It don't look like it has a crimp.
No, this is a 223 case.
Yeah.
That's a Hornady casing.
Are these the skived? Let's see.
Here's a. This one had a crimp I had to remove.
So here's the skived bullet, I think. I think this is the lethal fusion one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Yeah, this guy. It's on my Facebook and my Instagram page, a picture of the hand. But this guy is just nastily devastating. I mean,
Well, I've just last times I've been to the range, I just shoot my steel target, so I don't really get to see terminal ballistics. I don't shoot hams usually. I shot some Barbasol shaving gel cans, but shaving cream cans just for the explosion effect. But I usually just shoot the steel target, and so all I get is a ping. I don't get the
right. Well, out of my 18-inch with this powder loading, it is moving at 2750 feet per second. This guy right here, and I can go up 24 grains, which will be moving at about 23 or 2832. And that is smoking fast. But
well.
I need to make more.
I seem to hit what I aim at with the rounds with the store-bought rounds that I'm using, so that's all I really care about. I'm not into reloading yet, but if I ever get a place that's big enough to have like a man cave where I can have a reloading setup, then I'll get into it more, and maybe I'll even show up on one of the reloading chats. Gun channels. All right, I'll take a quick look at the external, see what's happening out there, if anything. So a few people cruising in and out.
No, it's not as powerful as this guy. 308. So.
Well, that looks like a nasty round. Wouldn't want to get hit with.
Yeah, this will hit you pretty hard. You get hit by this, you're not going to be getting up. So this is factory federal.
Okay. With regard to taking, Steve D was starting to talk about taking a rifle. Well, you can't get it on. You can't take it through into the cabin, but you could arrange to have it in a TSA approved case and bring it with you to Hawaii if you want. It's obviously you have to go check. All the airlines are different, but TSA you just have to get there early so you can check it in with TSA, and it goes in with the checked luggage. Obviously, you don't carry a gun into the cabin.
Yeah, you can carry firearms on the airplane. It has to be in a TSA approved box. You have to go check it in to the belly of the plane. You won't be near it. So, but yes, you can travel with your firearm.
Yeah, somebody was explaining when I was at J&G, and I bought a TSA approved for just so I can carry handguns. I didn't have the case, but because I think the next time I go somewhere to the mainland where I want to bring one of my handguns, I'll probably bring my little Ruger pistol because I like my Ruger LC9S Pro because it's got no safeties. It's 9mm and it's like the lightest, smallest, it's subcompact, and so basically you can carry it and there's no way nobody will even know you're carrying it because that's what's cool about subcompacts. And I don't feel like I need a full size pistol unless the shit hits the fan. So just for if I'm like going to Arizona where I can legally carry something, then I really like carrying the Glock 30. I mean, I can understand that extra confidence by having a 45 instead of a 9mm, but honestly, a 9mm is good enough, for me. And I really like subcompacts, at least that one. The 380 didn't always, the LC 380, it didn't always cycle just because the rounds. But the 9mm does. So the LC9S Pro, I love it. But I did get a carry case. And he was explaining to me the whole thing with TSA approved locks. And the more he explained it, he said, yes, this sounds stupid, and the rules are stupid, and here's why. And I can't even recreate his explanation. But if you call J&G Guns, they probably could. I think they sell online too. I'm trying to remember the name of the case I got. I just haven't even used it yet. But it's a TSA approved case. And they probably make them for rifles too, but I just got the one so I could throw any of my handguns in there and not have to borrow one off of my dad. I mean, if I'm going to California, but obviously in California, it's a lot harder to get a carry permit, and in Arizona, you don't need one.
Noisy cricket. That's what I call this one.
Noisy cricket?
I call this one noisy cricket.
No, I don't have a CSR, Steve. A CNR, C&R. I don't have a Curio and Relic license. There's too much paperwork. It's like at some point, it's like, how much unnecessary paperwork I'm willing to do just to do something that I shouldn't even need any paperwork to do in the first place. I don't know. All right. So is there anything else anybody wants to talk about on this week's show about hurricanes, guns, any legislation or anything like that? Before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, I think I'm going to take off for bed, actually.
You're always going to bed. You're such a solid citizen. All right. You don't stay out late, get drunk, shoot heroin or any of that other stuff. And you own a gun. You're supposed to be a bad guy. Okay. All right. So thanks everybody. Thanks everybody for tuning in and to the Lock and Load show. And we'll be back next week. God bless America. And hope you UK guys don't hate on me too much for beating up Ron a little in his absence. Like I said, he's my friend. All right, I'll see y'all next week. God bless.